we are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Hello and welcome to Best for the World broadcast and this session about regenerative leadership and an exploration. And my name is Stella Nordahl. I'm here today with a friend of mine who I think is one of the best to explore this topic together with. It's Sanna Rodelius. Welcome, Sanna.
Thank you.
Everything's okay with you?
Yes, I'm getting there. I have had a really rough week, losing myself, and
that's interesting.
But now
it's interesting because a lot of people always mention losing themselves, and then maybe not. They don't say lose themselves. They say go find themselves, and then they must have lost themselves, and probably that's what we do every now and then. I guess that's called life. I guess.
Yeah. My colleague said in one of my business, he said it's like you're experiencing this Scrooge story, Charles Dickens, what is it, A Christmas Carol, like being shown meeting your past self. So that's kind of like the last 3 weeks has been like meeting old selves of mine, and in very challenging ways to like, okay, there's something here to learn and get past. So that's what it feels like.
And this makes, I guess, the topic even more interesting as we have this feature called life, because the regenerative, we're going to explore regenerative leadership together for a while and see what is it, what can it be, and how do we want it to be, maybe. And regenerative says something, I guess, which, now we're supposed to focus on the leadership and the regenerative leadership, but the word regenerative is in itself really interesting, as I see it as a way of creating over and over again, recreate, regenerate. So what is your take on it?
Well, I would say there's regenerative is, I come from this perspective, like, okay, we can't speak about sustainability. We cannot create sustainable systems or sustainable ways of living until we have actually healed what the harm that we have caused to the world and to our human systems and life and such. So that's why I really like, that's what I put in this word, regenerative. It's both generating life, but it's also through that process healing what has been harmed. And do we have music?
Yeah, that was some sound coming up. This is super interesting. I know what it was actually. I closed down that application. I have a Spotify account together with my daughter, and every now and then, it's quite interesting about regenerative thinking here, because now she probably wanted to use this account, and that meant that she started out something on my computer. That's interesting, and sorry for interrupting you, Sanna.
No worries. I know this. We have the same issue.
Oh, you have.
In our household. Yeah. So actually, if I come back to leadership, regenerative leadership, and my check-in here, it starts with yourself, you know, the regenerative leadership. And regenerative development. I think it all starts with yourself. Like, and this week that has been completely the opposite. It's been depleting. I've been like in very challenging situations where that's like drawn the energy out of me and my life force, like completely losing the life force within. So for me this morning has really been about, okay, I need to regenerate, like come back to find that. So yeah, losing myself in this case, in this context, was a lot about like losing touch with the life force within. So that's what I've been doing this morning in different ways.
I don't know exactly how I should put it, but for me, the regenerative word says something about both the way we show up to the world, the way we work and so on, the way we interact, the way we create relations. But it also says a lot on how we look at the world, on how we have found or not found strategies for tough times, strategies for day-to-day life. We can call it strategies, but it's more like belief system. Choosing a belief system that is life affirming. I think life affirming is the word I've been using up until I heard the word regenerative.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I often describe regenerative as life affirming, like life affirming principles, living in life affirming ways, working accordingly. Yeah, like that.
So does it work for you when you connect those two words, regenerative and leadership? Because I have a slight issue there with, I've been working with leadership now for 15, 16 years or something, but my problem with leadership is actually because it's almost stated within the word itself, or in the concept more or less of leadership, to lead or be led. And
so what was,
yeah, I don't know.
Continue.
Continue. I believe in a world that we are co-creating by just existing. So for me, life affirming is life brings life. Life is also meaning, the meaning behind it. Meaning that life creates life is a meaning in itself. So then that's where this is. I wouldn't say it's a collision between those two words. That's not what I mean, but they are really not on the same level of consciousness or level of belief system thoughts, I would say. Have you?
So like the traditional views on leadership is not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's traditional. It's more built into the word, more or less. Of course, we can reinvent the word leadership, but I believe that's maybe also a tough, rough way to go.
But what do you think about self-leadership?
I don't really like that word either, but I can use it, of course, as that's one of the topics I've been working with, but that from my point of view, a regenerative leadership. If we use that word just for a while, at least, that's what we're going to explore here. For me, it's development on all levels, if even levels exist. But with levels, I mean personal level, organizational level, societal level, world level, universal level. So by taking responsibility for any of those aspects of life, you also engage with all of them at once, even if you're focusing on self-awareness or self-leadership or whatever it is, business development, or by default we do the other ones at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is interesting. I think might it be that leadership, when you think of leadership, you I mean, historically, it's quite a masculine principle, or at least how it has been, what do you say,
Perceived.
engaged and achieved. Yeah.
Perceived, maybe.
For the last 3,000-4,000 years, it's been a very masculine, and the regenerative is quite a lot feminine. It's about like seeing the whole, like putting life first. And so might it be like together those two?
Yeah.
Because for me, the masculine is about the setting direction. It's about, and I think we still need to set direction, at least like in the world. Like we need to. Okay, an example. I'm jumping now. I was part of starting up the initiative, the political party, and that has been a big exploration of meta-modern ideas and meta-modern politics, meta-modern political culture. Like, how can we reinvent the political system in a more meta-modern way? But what I really strongly felt in this fall was like, okay, we're just talking. It's super safe to just like in these intellectual bubbles to say how the world should be and think we have we're all that. If they just understood our worldview, it would all be good. And I felt like, I felt this like, okay, I'm so sick of this. I want to see. Also, I felt like there's no direction in that. It's exploring meta-modern politics is just about like, okay, how to do things, how we're gonna, we want.
Okay, so it's not about why then.
Why, how, but it's not. No, not so much.
Not purpose driven.
I might change. I think it's a little bit different. But what I felt was missing was this direction, like the regenerative direction. And I felt like, okay, there's no other way. There's no other point, like North Star, that we could work for. And what that did, because what I've sensed in this field of meta-modern thought leaders and entrepreneurs, I don't know what to call this field of like this group of people and this movement, but
I believe meta-modern is quite I believe what is used within the community of those people, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. And what I've been sensing is still like we're still stuck with these narratives that are creating big issues in the world, like narrative, like the expert narrative, that is the foundation for a lot of the financial system. Like like you need to, like, real ego-driven narratives. I want to be the hero. I want to come up with a solution. So those are still like very present, and we're not really dealing with those in those contexts. But with a regenerative perspective, I mean, you kind of get away from that, because to create a regenerative world or society, I mean, I think you need to base that on meta-modern principles, like of understanding, like of all these different means and cultural codes and everything is existing at the same time, and you need to oscillate between and such. But that also means that there needs to be multiple solutions. Like, there's not one road leading to a regenerative society. We need to experiment. We need to,
Yeah, I can fill in a little bit here because it's
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
I have many thoughts popping up here, and I believe that regenerative is the closest that we so far have come to mimicking nature in terms of leadership or in business development, or I mean, we can talk about sustainability and circularity and so on, but I believe that regenerative is at least mimicking how natural system works, which means exactly what you say. Probably not one solution. It could be one solution in a specific little area, but in most cases, several of solutions. Some of them working fully, some of them working partly, and complementing and also creating over and over again, and you can never say we have the solution, or now we are done, or so again, life creates life. So it's very beautiful, actually.
And with the isn't it? And regenerative. Oh, I had to stop. Wait a second. No, I missed it. I think in the regenerative leadership, for me, that now thinking about it, I haven't given this much thought lately. It's alive in my system, and this is beautiful, wonderful book by I'm losing their names now. Regenerative Leadership, it's called. It's by Laura Storm and Hutchins, I think his last name is.
I believe I have it here. Some of those false thoughts also correlates a lot to intentional decisions. I've been working with a lot. I think you mean this one. This is the one. Yeah. Exactly. So this is the book by Giles Hutchins and Laura Storm. And it's very beautiful also, yes, so that people understand what we say with beautiful, because can a model be beautiful? Here is the model of cradle to cradle, for instance. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And cradle to cradle is in itself a way of talking about life. Mm-hmm. I like those metaphors and that are close to life and to the living organisms and so on. For instance, we have created a consultancy firm based upon a tree metaphor. The tree metaphor means that you actually have a whole system. You can't take only what can be measured. You have to include what can also not be measured, and give it the same value and the same level of acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And
that's what I wanted to say about this, where we started, like with leadership being something not so good, not so regenerative.
But I just correct myself then. If I didn't mean to say that leadership is not good. It's more that it's stuck. I liked your way of connecting regenerative as something that is more of the feminine principle, and maybe leadership, maybe more of the masculine principle. And when they merge, we know that life is created.
Creation. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, I think within the regenerative, because the leadership paradigm, like that is dominant today, holds a lot of the dominant paradigm. So it's a lot about domination, and I mean that's not good. That's not life affirming. So, but the regenerative, I mean that's the opposite.
Yeah.
So Oh, sorry, I dropped something here.
I really like that kind of way of putting it. That because I think life affirming is a direction. It's a direction of as I use now. I'm going to use my words on it, so see if you like them. But empathy over sympathy, for instance, when you put yourself into someone else's shoes, you actually use two fantastic capabilities we have as human beings. One of them is to imagine someone else under other circumstances. Then that someone else could be yourself in a future you, and a future or a society in a future context. and it's also the second part of it, which is also super interesting, and that is that you get a physical experience from it, like when you dream, you're there, and that is what you can accomplish with empathy. So empathy over sympathy is one of my principles I often use, and the other one is also interesting, and that is engagement over just participation. To engage is to take part, and it could be together with others, but also in your own life. And then I also use another word, which is very often misunderstood. I would say proactive over reactive. But when saying proactive, I don't mean to only act. It's also a way of putting out intents. Because both intention and intuition is not seen in the, you call it dominant paradigm, you can call it the intellectual paradigm, you can call it the masculine paradigm, or you can, but that kind of forces I haven't had any value in the system we have built. So we need to revalue them and see that life can only be created with both the masculine and the feminine principle.
Yeah. And I think that's a theme that is very dear to me, masculine and feminine energy. And I was actually writing about this on LinkedIn yesterday, because I've been very active in the feminine leadership movement, or I don't know if we should call it a movement, but it's a lot about like really valuing the feminine principles again, and because as women we've been like pushing them away, making them feel really bad, and thereby also losing our power, losing the connection to the earth and the life force and the sexuality, the feminine power, and I was thinking about, like, because I wrote a message on LinkedIn earlier this week, like, okay, where are the like feminine leadership in the public sector? Like, because I'm like, where's that power? I can't. I work with so many women, but I don't find the feminine power anywhere.
No, and that's extremely symptomatic, I think, within the that kind of structures that we have built. It's very often referred as new public management or similar ways to put it, where you measure stuff on all levels at all times, but very often I see that all those systems called quality systems, they are not quality systems. They are there to control. It's more like control systems. Yeah. And if we have a control system which is there to control people, then we lose trust. And trust is one of the main parts, or main forces within the regenerative aspects. You have to have trust in the process. You have to have trust in people. You have to have trust in yourself. You have to have trust in the context and trust in the future and so on.
Yeah. It's fear and love. It's all fear-based. Yeah, and for me as a systems designer and or strategic designer or system innovator, I work with innovating these systems, and I mean that's a very, very, the structures are very like of the masculine principle, and as you say, like about controlling, and we're stuck in there, and then we have a world that is like, okay, it's changing, it's transforming faster than we can understand. So of course these structures they don't follow, and it gets really painful for people. And like I'm talking about leadership, like all these leaders who are supposed to know the way and what to do, and who all of a sudden like, I don't know. We're living in a more complex world, and that's the problem. Like we're trying to lead complexity, we're trying to control complexity, and then it just brings chaos, because you cannot do that. You can navigate through. You can, and then you need the feminine leadership. You need to like
definitely.
Okay, where's the flows, and all these systems are also made up of human beings.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
And you're putting a finger on something, which is when you start thinking about it, it's almost a little bit ridiculous, because we almost, if we take the tree metaphor, it's as a tree is a complex system, an organization is a complex system, a human is a complex system, and so on. And it's like when you what you will end up with trying to control such a system is a very lousy causality to work with. You have to almost you look at the fruits and you shout to them, grow. and it's almost when you start thinking of it, it's like the picture comes up in my mind is almost a little bit ridiculous, because of course you can do that, I mean, but it won't help. Probably not help. Maybe at some specific occasion that specific fruit will grow, but not because of that you're shouting on it. So
yeah, exactly. And that's really what regenerative leadership is for me. I think it's not about it's both having the feminine leadership and the masculine leadership, and that's not, I just want to say, it's not connected to women and men.
No.
The
Like principles in
like
itself.
Feminine, masculine, but more women have closer to expressing that, like the feminine principle energies, and men have more of the masculine. Often, not always.
I have a.
But for me, it's.
Sorry, you go first. I have.
Yeah, let me just the regenerative leadership for me is like, okay, to know when do we need a feminine leadership, when do we need a masculine leadership, and to allow them to dance and create together. Because it's not that we don't need structures, it's not that we don't need the masculine directive, goal-oriented leadership. It's just that we need a balance and we need to use them in the right way.
Yeah. What I was thinking of here was that I think it was Jakob Tolbeck who said to me, Jakob is, just for the one listening, he is the one that created the framework for Agenda 2030, which is called SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and they had made some studies. He told me that on how the different, again, those are goals. Goal means that you have to reduce a system and set up a goal, but we that's the best we have. And he told me that they have studied how different working with different goals of the Sustainable Development Goals cascades on each other. And one of the goals that was cascading positively on many of the other ones was gender equality. So that's super interesting itself. If it's that easy to make a shift, we have it in our hands. We can do it now. We don't have to wait for tomorrow or 2030 or whatever. We can do that now, as you say. Even if it's not about men and women, we know that most women have a wider spectrum of the feminine principles, and vice versa. So. Instead of trying to reform ourselves the first we do, because that could take some time. A lot of people don't want to change, but just setting the system a little bit slightly different would probably help us out, widely better than we do today. I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, and it's not. How do I say this? Equality doesn't necessarily mean that we get more of the feminine principle in the world.
No, not immediately. I understand that.
Because when a lot of women are not aware of the power they have in their bodies. Because
I totally agree. I totally agree.
For bringing that out in the world. So there's like this. In certain contexts, they speak about the witch wound, and actually that is brought up in that book you showed, the Regenerative Leadership, because that's a trauma. Like we need to be trauma informed, and if we have these collective traumas that are affecting, like women, from stepping into their power and stepping into their leadership.
Yeah, and not using the masculine way, because we have had enough of not enough of, but we have had too much of it. So as you said before, a balance. Maybe balance is a good way to think of it. Another one could be as flavors. I mean, we're stuck with one flavor. We need more flavors. And and then you don't have to always balance, because balancing is quite tough in itself. You're always trying to balance something. You know, I know out of experience that balancing stuff is extremely hard. As soon as you get in balance, you're out of balance again. So maybe we could use some kind of terminology where we use, I don't know, colors or flavors or something that is easier to blend.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also, I don't like, I like the word balance, but in this context it's a little bit off, because it's like you say, sometimes we need more of the masculine leadership, sometimes we need more of the feminine. So I'm trying to, like, that's why it's not like equal in that sense necessarily in all contexts. It's like we need to work context specific.
I'm thinking here, you're supposed to go somewhere you're leaving this conversation soon, so maybe we should try to wrap it a little bit up. We have been exploring regenerative leadership. For those who are new into this concepts, regenerative in some sense, we framed it, you and I, a little bit, not framed, but we denominated it as life affirming, and we also realized in some sense that there are feminine, masculine principles that need to show up in that type of a setup. A regenerative leadership has to be a both an and instead of either an or. So that's how far we have come in the exploration. From my point of view, please add if it's something I've been missing out here.
I would just add, it starts with yourself, and I think that's just living, inviting the life affirming principle into your day-to-day life. Like, why do you go to work? Is it life affirming, or is it just giving you money to pay? And maybe that is enough for some people. I mean, you just want money, and that's life affirming because you have a more life affirming way of, like, outside of work, you know. But I think many people go to work just because that's how you're supposed to do it, you know. And not the least in the public sector. That's what I see. I started asking all my colleagues, like, why are you here? What do you want to? What's your drive? What's your why are you doing this work? And many people have not even given that a thought. I mean, the public sector is supposed to really be in service of.
Yeah, they have a really easy why pitch, actually. I believe that, for instance, municipalities, they have a super simple pitch on why, because it's so profound, actually, serving the community. So, I mean,
Exactly.
what business can come up with that perfect purpose? I mean, so
exactly. But maybe the regenerative goal, I think that's also something that is missing there. Okay, like, it means for the why, it's not just serving people, but serving people to what?
Yeah.
To live better lives. And what is that? It's changing.
Yeah. That's why I like this life of. That's why I like the life affirming word or way of looking at it. Because in itself there is a purpose. The purpose itself is life. I really love that. I believe that's the core of a lot of maybe the whole existence. Yeah, definitely the whole existence.
Why are we living otherwise?
Yeah.
What are we here for? It's not for life and living it.
Yeah.
Let's stop this, like, you know, you work until you get retired and then I'm gonna live. This is so stupid. I mean, just create societies where we live life, our whole life.
Yeah, you can do that, and you can live while working and live while studying, and so you don't have to push it forward. There's always something else that should be done before you can live.
How can you create a work life that is life affirming? Yeah,
very beautiful.
That's what I'm asking myself.
Yeah, and that's a ongoing conversation, I believe, in my head too, and of course at some level you can't have that conversation, focusing on that conversation all over and over and over, because that's very tiring. But every now and then stop for a while, reflect. Okay, is this serving the purpose of life? Is this serving others? Is this serving the society? Is it serving myself? And hopefully the more yeses that we get on those questions, and at the same time, the better it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's a very good decision structure.
Yeah. Okay, Sanna, shall we?
Also, before leaving,
Yeah.
can I just give I was in London recently and met Nicholas Janney, who written a book called Leader as Healer. And I just realized, actually, it's another book on regenerative leadership, but in a little bit different way.
Yeah, I like that one. When we're whole, we can start acting as a whole entity, serving both ourselves, others, and the community. So,
Exactly.
healing is necessary, I guess.
Thank you for this regenerative conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Take care, Sanna. Take care, everyone that have been following this stream. And if you watch it in afterwards, please contact me or Sanna if you want to elaborate and explore more of the regenerative leadership questions. I guess it's more than answers. So take care.
I would love that.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Bye.
We are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.